Hello everyone! Welcome back to Ace's Stormwatch, episode 3. What a what a crazy round filled with something none of us were expecting. So I'm really excited to get into it. I think it'd be a really fun thing to kind of go over, see my thought process, see how I am putting myself in a better position. You know how fun this is for me to make. And I hope you enjoy watching. So let's get into it. So 8 p.m. rolls around today, and we are all, most of us are glued to the bulletin board, just waiting to see who was the first boot of this season. And unfortunately, the first boot was, in fact, John. I didn't get to talk to John much during my time here in the game, but, I mean, I know he's such a cool dude, so hopefully he's not taking it too bad. This is good for me, because after the bulletin board was announced, Stephanie actually ended up finding the player chat for the first time in 3 days. So she may finally be starting to show some more activity, which is what we need. As for Star, she hit me up after she survived, just saying I survived, and I said, I'm so happy for you. I mean, really, I would have taken anybody going home there, but John is probably my best bet, considering I feel like I can work Stephanie and Star a little bit more than I could have worked John. I feel like John is just a little bit more independent, but who knows? I haven't been able to hear much from Stephanie or Star, so we'll see how that goes down. Moving on from the unfortunate eradication of John, we still have a faction mandate to get to. So there wasn't a lot of talk, but there was a lot of talk in my head, because I talked to myself. Some people were saying 2 of 8. I just thought that was kind of unlikely with the previous faction of 5, just to, like, I don't know, jump from 5 to 8, and also just, like, it would be a very little chance of anybody getting into a faction at all. I was kind of thinking 4 of 4. 4 of 4, final 17. It would make the factions of 5 previously had, it would basically stir up drama, because it would let you know if you were the person on the outs of your last group. Or, what could have happened with the factions 4 of 4 is it gives the people a chance to move away from their previous faction of 5 and group with somebody else to reset the faction counter. But either way, I felt like 4 of 4 was pretty plausible. But instead, what we got, and what nobody was expecting, was, in fact, 2 factions of 6. Basically, what 2 factions of 6 meant is that there was going to be 5 people in the riot this round. And that was kind of terrifying, because while there is 5 people in the riot and you have a heightened chance of making it out, the fact that 5 out of the 17 of us weren't going to be safe, around 30% of us weren't going to be safe, was kind of crazy. So immediately I got to work. I really didn't know where to turn it at first. After around 30 minutes of just running around, talking to people like LMA, Otter, even though I just factioned with him, I was kind of coming up on nothing. And it was kind of scaring me, because by the time I was still looking for people to work with, LMA had already started building her faction. So it kind of scared me, honestly. I thought I might not be able to make something happen. But then she brought up one person who I talked about in my last episode, but unfortunately I didn't make anything happen with, and that is Zuko. Zuko was currently looking for a faction as well. So I decided that me and them could orchestrate a faction together. And so we really just tried to get as many people on it as we could. I talked to Evie immediately because Evie wasn't part of my faction before, and Evie is someone who I have talked pretty extensively with, so I felt like she was a good option. Harmony had begun talking to me this afternoon, so I thought of her, and I got her into it. So it was us four, and we needed two more. And that's when Zuko realized that the only two people really away from the game right now was Syntax and Jay. And Syntax and Jay worked out for me because they're also two people that I have not factioned with yet. So the faction was me, Zuko, Harmony, Evie, Syntax, Jay. So I spread it as quick as I could. It maybe took me 5 minutes in total to tell everybody in my faction what the plan was. I gave them the exact names of everybody. I told them we are good to go. And it was solidified when Harmony made a group chat, and it was titled Super Slay Round 2 Faction. Probably one of the best faction names I've heard ever. You may be wondering, why Ace? Why were you pushing this faction of 6 so hard with these random people? Like, I've barely heard of Jay in any of your videos so far, other than the cast evaluations. Why is all of a sudden Jay such an important factor? Well, one, I knew that when Jay and Syntax came back, they would appreciate the fact that they had been put in a group chat where they could faction. And I knew that it would almost lead to a 100% success rate that they would go with our faction. As soon as Syntax got on, he was like, yeah, I'm so down. So obviously we went with that. Another thing, Otter put it quite nicely in the fact that 4 people in my faction will not be able to faction together next round because of the faction counter twist that is in play. You cannot faction with the same person for 3 consecutive rounds, or you both go into the riot. It is a crazy twist that demands that you constantly switch up your gameplay. And so I was able to catch 4 out of the 5 members in my faction, and they're going to be put in a hard plate. If there's 3 or less factions in the next faction mandate, at least 2 of them will go in. And that is just, it is the way I have strategized this. I feel like this is a really good, first kind of move on my part. Not that it was alone my move, I think me and Zuko really dominated the faction building on this round, but it's the fact that I will come out unscathed, and my previous partners in Otter, Dallas, and Avas, their faction counters will be reset. And so I think I've set it up in a way where I am the top dog. On top of Super Slay Round 2 faction, comprised of the faction that I previously stated, I built a new 3-person alliance for the upcoming Final 16, and that is Otter, Syntax, and myself, and we've decided on Syntax decided on a rather inappropriate name of Hit the Pentagon. The reason I know Otter and Syntax so well is because of Otter's org, Pentagon. So besides, of course I've talked to them a lot in-game already, so this kind of felt, natural, but it's good to have that extra sense of security. Hopefully this can be sort of my go-to for whenever there's a faction of 3 round. Yeah, so with Final 16 rapidly approaching, as I record this, it is about 5 hours till the faction mandates are released. So if Final 16 turns out to be 5 factions of 3, like, a few people are expecting. I know Harmony said that she expected it to be a faction with less people, obviously. It's 5 factions of 3. I already have a faction for next round. And, wow, the way that I literally am fast factioning. Another thing I have to look out for this round is a storm round. So now it is not the first round, this is in fact the second episode So storm rounds can and will happen, and considering this is a faction of 6, I am concerned that there could be another faction made within this faction. And with factions of 6, the only one I really see going off is one faction of 4 or one faction of 5, but that just seems kind of crazy. Also, there's already 5 people in the riot, so it doesn't really feel like the correct time to be adding more people into the riot through storm rounds. So to say that I'm expecting a storm round this episode is wrong. I think there's a very little chance that there's any storm round this episode, but you never know with Eradication production. I guess I will see you guys at 8 p.m. for when the factions release, and we will all see if Super Slay Round 2 faction is in fact as solid as I think it is. Hey y'all, it is Ace back with Ace's Stormwatch. The reason the lighting is so bad is because my house is currently losing power. And you might see the lights flickering in the background, but let's forget about it because we're just in the storm. You know, guys, we're in the storm. You know, I've got to get this video out. Anyways, that's the problem. Anyways, the Super Slay Round 2 faction of me, Zuko, Harmony, Evie, Jay, and Syntax went through. We are safe again, very nicely. Very cool, very excited. And from what I've seen so far, doesn't look like there was a storm round like I predicted. So yeah, really cool. You know, just really excited to be safe. And you know, like I previously stated, I have a lot of hope that we will be good next round, final 16, because if it is an auto-elim, I'm safe, and I have a lot of friendships who I can work around. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Ace's Stormwatch. I'm going to go now before my power goes out, but thank you all for watching, and I will see you for episode 4. Bye-bye.